Welcome to the new video of NeuroPhilos. Get ready to dive into a gripping tale that will leave you breathless, thinking, and inspired. Whether you're here for the mystery, the drama, or the unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Let's begin from our earliest days. We have overlooked a fundamental truth. To truly navigate life's complexities, we must deepen our grasp of psychology and human nature. After all, the greatest threat we face is not an external enemy, but ourselves. Pause for a moment and reflect. Might you not be the person you believe yourself to be? Consider that the beliefs guiding your choices, the impulses you assume are uniquely yours, could originate from forces you've never consciously acknowledged. Imagine a silent, shrouded power dwelling within you, shaping your path from the very beginning, unbeknownst to your waking mind. This is no fanciful conspiracy theory. It is the domain of psychology. And if you'd like to understand the true undercurrents of your behavior, you must acquaint yourself with one name above all: Carl Gustav Jung. How many times have you repeated self-defeating patterns, undermining relationships, stifling ambitions, despite all appearances of success? Perhaps it's not bad luck, but something deeper. Your shadow. The archetypes, the collective unconscious clamoring for recognition. What's happening beneath the surface? Why should you care? Because ignoring these hidden aspects of your psyche is akin to navigating a minefield blindfolded. You will inevitably be wounded over and over, and you'll label the consequences as mere coincidence. Jung was more than a conventional psychologist. He was an intrepid cartographer of the soul. He ventured into the psyche's darkest recesses, most shrank from man, unveiled discoveries that forever altered how we understand ourselves. This narrative is not a dry biography or a clinical summary. It is a mirror held up to your innermost world. Once Jung's insights take root in your consciousness, returning to your former perspective becomes impossible. You will begin to spot the inner monsters that lurk within and recognize that the most formidable enemy is not out there, but resides within your own psyche. Yet here is the hopeful paradox. That very adversary can transform into your greatest ally, provided you muster the courage to confront it. So take a deep breath, clear away the chatter, prepare yourself for what follows is, without exaggeration, the essential guide to Jung's thought that you truly need. After this, you will never regard yourself in the same light again. Born in 1875 in Switzerland, Jung's childhood was steeped in religious symbolism, ritual, and quiet mystery. From a young age, he sensed dimensions of human experience that defied simple explanation by logic or language. His early intellectual journey led him to become Freud's most brilliant protege, but also the one destined to challenge Freud's theories. Where Freud saw repressed sexual drives as the engine of our unconscious, Jung perceived something far more expansive, vast archetypal forces and symbols reaching back through millennia to our ancestral roots. This divergence was unavoidable. Jung refused to confine mental health to symptom relief or social conformity. Instead, he envisioned the psyche as a living, dynamic interplay of opposites, light and shadow, reason and emotion, masculine and feminine. To Jung, suffering was not a mishap of existence, but a summons to transformation. He pioneered analytical psychology, an approach that strives not to obliterate what is wrong within us, but to integrate rejected aspects to render conscious what has long been repressed. For Jung, the greatest enemy was unconsciousness itself. Why does this ancient framework remain vital today? Because our modern world is still plagued by the same destructive cycles. We anesthetize our emptiness, flee pain, repeat patterns, and label the fallout as chance. And Jung not only anticipated this state, he provided a map for redress. He did not peddle facile solutions or quick fixes. He offered the unvarnished truth about ourselves. Among his most unsettling revelations is that a portion of our mind is not unique to each individual, but shared across all humanity, the collective. Unconscious. Imagine your consciousness as a small island populated by your personal memories, traumas, and stories. But beneath this island lies a boundless ocean-an inherited psychic reservoir where symbols, images, and primordial forces reside. Dipole currents flow through every one of us, long predating our birth and persisting unseen, steering our thoughts, loves, canes. The evidence of this shared psychic realm surfaces in universal myths and motifs, heroes and monsters, quests and redemptions that recur across cultures and eras. Jung argued that when you experience a pang of abandonment, you are stirring an ancestral archetype. When you yearn for meaning, you trace a path charted by countless generations. To ignore this powerful substratum is like denying gravity. No matter your protestations, it will pull you under, manifesting in your choices and relationships until you confront its presence. Among the myriad archetypes Jung identified, none is more feared than the shadow, the disowned, repressed aspects of ourselves. All impulses deemed unacceptable, all vulnerabilities we have learned to suppress, gather in this dark reservoir. Think of the child you had to silence to fit in. It's the teenager who masked inner turmoil with a smile, the adult who crumbles inside while projecting calm. The more vehemently you deny these parts, the stronger they grow, erupting in sudden anger, crippling shame, destructive judgments of others, or self-sabotage exactly when victory is within reach. Jung's chilling admonition rings true. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The act of facing your shadow is not about eradication, but integration. It is the first step on a path Jung termed individuation, the arduous, lifelong journey toward wholeness. Most pass through life donning persona social masks crafted for acceptance. They meet expectations, conform to norms, and anesthetize discomfort, all to avoid scrutiny of their true selves. Yet, deep within, an emptiness stirs a longing that cannot be soothed by success or external validation. This is the absence of individuation. Individuation is not a trendy self-help slogan. It is a rite of passage through crisis, loss, rupture, each a crucible in which the ego fractures and the authentic self emerges. Claiming responsibility, and embracing both light and darkness, strength and fragility. The journey pains because it strips away comforting falsehoods, but it also delivers an unparalleled freedom, the power to author your own life. So why should you engage with Jung now? Because modern life bombards us with stimuli that sever us from our inner compass. We chase outward distractions only to become anxious, depressed, and disoriented. Jung saw this coming. He warned that ignoring our dreams severs the bridge to the unconscious, that laughing at symbols and archetypes abandons the map to our own being. And the result is spiritual crisis, individuals adrift, relationships hollow, identities unstable. Yet within that collapse lies opportunity. Jung was not merely a clinician, but a guide for times of upheaval. He invites us to dive inward, to confront monsters and rediscover the soul's voice. The process requires courage and exacts pain, but it is also the only path to genuine integration and meaning. Each night when you lay your head to rest, a vast hidden realm stirs within you. Dreams are not haphazard flickers of images. They are the psyche's secret language, whispering insights that conscious thought cannot articulate. Carl Jung insisted that these nocturnal visions are more than mere residue of daily events. They are deliberate messages from the unconscious mind aimed at restoring inner equilibrium. When you dream, fragments of forgotten memories, unacknowledged emotions, and archetypal symbols converge to guide your waking life. By dismissing dreams as nonsense, you sever a vital link to your soul, forfeiting the chance to understand deep psychic currents. Jung viewed dreams not as chaos, but as a compensatory mechanism, striving to restore balance when consciousness drifts too far into one extreme. For example, an overly rational individual may dream of wild animals or chaotic storms, signaling the need to embrace emotion or spontaneity. Conversely, someone overwhelmed by feelings might dream of icy landscapes or rigid structures, urging the cultivation of order and clarity. These dream images are carefully calibrated responses from the unconscious, addressing imbalances by offering the opposite perspective. By attending to these internal signals, you allow your psyche to communicate its needs, fostering a harmonious interplay between reason and feeling. Consider common dream motifs. The sensation of falling reflects a loss of control, while the emblem of teeth crumbling often arises during feelings of vulnerability or anxiety about aging or self-image. Repeated symbols: water, fire, labyrinth, not random but archetypal icons encoded in the collective unconscious. When you experience these potent images, your psyche is drawing on a universal vocabulary to convey essential truths. Paying attention to patterns and repetitions reveals persistent emotional themes that require your conscious engagement. Ignoring these symbols is like ignoring a persistent knock at the door of your inner world. Eventually, the message will burst through in unsettling ways. Jung identified a set of primordial images called archetypes, universal psychic structures, shaping human experience. A house in dreams often represents the self, with rooms symbolizing aspects of your personality. A snake suggests transformation or hidden danger. A ladder may signify spiritual ascent or descent into the unconscious. A mirror can reveal your shadow. Each carries a distinct energy, function, and message. Dreams weave these symbols into narratives that mirror your inner dynamics. By learning the nuances of this symbolic lexicon, you equip yourself with interpretive tools. The same symbol can shift meaning depending on context. So interpret with curiosity rather than rigid rules. To work effectively with dreams, begin by recording them immediately upon waking, noting every detail, emotion, and fragment of dialogue. Maintain a dedicated journal and revisit entries periodically, looking for recurring elements or tonal shifts. Reflect on associations. Each symbol evokes what personal memories or cultural myths it conjures. Amplify the image by exploring its significance, draw it, meditate on it, or research its mythological roots. This amplification process bridges conscious and unconscious realms, allowing symbols to reveal layered meanings. Over time, you develop an intuitive sense of your dream language, enabling you to decode the psyche's guidance swiftly. Beyond journaling, Jung recommended active imagination, a dialogue with dream figures or symbols through visualization. Writing or art. Imagine entering the dream scene and conversing with its inhabitants or inquiring about their purpose. Allow narratives to unfold spontaneously without forcing a particular outcome. This inward exploration transforms passive observation into creative participation, fostering integration of disowned aspects. Active imagination serves as a laboratory where conscious will meets unconscious material, forging new psychic connections. As you engage repeatedly, you build a relationship of trust with your inner world, reducing fear and resistance to its messages. When dream content is integrated into daily life, it propels individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self. By embracing the guidance of dreams, you align unconscious motives with conscious intentions. You begin to notice shifts. Moments of insight arise unexpectedly. Creative inspiration flows, and you make choices that resonate more deeply with your true nature. The friction between conflicting desires softens as you acknowledge both light and shadow. Over time, dreams evolve from cryptic puzzles into reliable companions guiding your path. Each fulfilled message quiets the psyche's unrest, reducing the urgency of nighttime symbols and diminishing anxiety in waking hours. Conversely, disregarding dreams invites neurosis. Unresolved conflicts fester in the shadows and manifest as compulsions, phobias, or psychosomatic symptoms. A neglected dream symbol may erupt in an obsession, an unwanted addiction, or repetitive, destructive behavior. The psyche demands expression. If the door is blocked, it will break through a window. Many seek refuge in external distractions, overworking, substance use, constant social stimulation to avoid inner turmoil. Yet no amount of diversion can still the unconscious's voice. Ignoring the symbolic messages only prolongs suffering and delays the transformation that inner exploration can deliver. Dreamwork offers a practical roadmap back to wholeness by honoring the unconscious through consistent practice. Dream recall, amplification, active imagination. You cultivate self-knowledge and resilience. Each insight becomes a tool to navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and creativity. Relationships improve as you cease projecting unrecognized conflicts onto others. Career decisions align more naturally with your gifts and values. Psychotherapy can accelerate this process, providing structure and support. But every individual can begin alone with pencil and notebook. The key is curiosity, not judgment. Treat every dream as an invitation rather than a test to pass or fail. Archetypes are primordial images and patterns embedded in the collective unconscious, forming the invisible architecture of the human psyche across lifetimes. They are not learned ideas, but instinctual predispositions shaping perception, emotion, and behavior across cultures and eras. Born from arch, meaning beginning or first, these templates represent universal human motivations, such as the quest for identity, the search for belonging, and the struggle between light and shadow. Viewed as characters in the theater of the soul, archetypes stage the dramas of our lives, casting us in roles: hero, victim, mentor, trickster, before we consciously choose our path. Though unseen, they exert immense influence by offering a shared symbolic language that manifests in dreams, myths, art, and personal narratives. By recognizing these archetypes, we gain insight into hidden forces directing our actions. Consider how archetypal energies flow through every facet of existence. Personal relationships, career ambitions, creative impulses, and spiritual quests. When an archetype holds sway unconsciously, it can hijack decisions and elicit repetitive patterns. The hero, for instance, compels us to confront challenges and rescue others, sometimes overriding self-care. The victim archetype, conversely, can trap us in cycles of helplessness by perpetually identifying with oppression. Even neutral archetypes like the everyman, seeking belonging, or the explorer, craving freedom, can distort when unbalanced. Understanding which archetypal theme dominates at any moment provides clarity and choice, freeing us from unconscious scripts that dictate our lives. The persona is one of the most immediate archetypes, the social mask we present for acceptance and survival. From an early age, we learn roles: child, student, professional, and adapt outward personas to meet expectations. When the persona reigns unchecked, authenticity fades, replaced by performance anxiety and an empty sense of self. You might find yourself preoccupied with image, ratings, or praise, yet disconnected from genuine desires. Recognizing the persona's influence means noticing where you are on stage, which parts of you hide to fit in. By intentionally loosening the grip of this mask, you allow your true nature to emerge, paving the way toward deeper creativity and honest relationships. At the opposite pole lies the hero archetype, the indomitable spirit that strives to overcome obstacles, achieve mastery, and protect the vulnerable. When integrated, the hero fosters courage, resilience, and purpose. Yet, in unconscious overdrive, it can morph into martyrdom or savior complexes relentlessly, seeking challenges or rescuing others at personal cost. Notice if you feel compelled to fix people or situations, or if self-sacrifice has become your default. To engage the hero consciously, set clear boundaries and align your actions with authentic calling rather than fear or obligation. By owning your hero energy, you become a source of inspiration without losing sight of your own needs. The anima and animus represent the feminine principle in men and the masculine principle in women's psychic counterpoints that balance gendered energies. Jung observed that unintegrated animus often projects onto romantic partners, idols, or fantasies, creating idealized or devalued images of the opposite sex. A man enchanted by a mysterious woman may unknowingly be engaging with his anima, while a woman drawn to a commanding figure may be responding to her animus. These projections distort relationships and hinder genuine connection. Integration begins by recognizing traits you admire, despise in others, tracing them back to your own inner opposite. As you welcome these opposing energies, your relationships deepen and inner conflicts soften, fostering empathy and emotional balance. Equally vital is the wise old man or woman archetype embodying inner wisdom, guidance, and moral compass. This voice often appears in dreams as a mentor, elder, or spiritual figure, offering insight during times of confusion. When ignored, its counsel may be reduced to fleeting intuition rather than a recognized resource. Cultivating a dialogue with this archetype can be transformative. Listen for sudden flashes of insight, recurring symbols of guidance, or feelings of awe that surface unbidden. Regular reflection on moments of sudden clarity or moral conviction will help you recognize the wise old archetype at work. Integrating the wise old archetype nurtures discernment, helping you navigate complex choices with clarity and integrity. The trickster archetype, living at the edges of order, disrupts complacency through humor, chaos, and paradox. Often embodied as jesters, clowns, or cunning figures, the trickster challenges norms, shatters illusions, and sparks creative breakthroughs. When repressed, trickster energy can manifest as self-sabotage, pranks that hurt, or an inability to take life seriously. Unbound, it can lead to reckless behaviors. To work with this archetype, cultivate playful curiosity, allow absurdity to surface. Experiment with new perspectives, and embrace uncertainty. The trickster reveals hidden aspects of reality, fostering flexibility and innovation. If all archetypes carry power, none is more notorious than the shadow, the repository of everything we deny, reject, or deem unacceptable. It manifests in projections, unpredictable outbursts, and irrational fears. When unacknowledged, it runs us from behind, shaping judgments and sabotaging intentions. Yet the shadow's energy is not inherently destructive. It contains raw vitality, creativity, passion, and untamed potential. Embracing the shadow archetype requires courageous self-examination, observing triggers, owning projections, and welcoming repressed qualities into consciousness. In doing so, you reclaim hidden strengths and dissolve patterns that once held you captive to identify which archetype dominates at any moment. Cultivate mindful awareness of recurring patterns and emotional responses. Journaling remains a powerful tool. Note situations that elicit strong reactions and ask which archetype is speaking. Use active imagination to dialogue with dominant figures. Invite your inner hero, a trickster muse, or shadow self to share their purpose. Artistic expression, painting, writing, movement can awaken archetypal images in vivid form. Examine life choices and relationship dynamics through an archetypal lens. Who are you playing in this drama? Who are you ignoring? With conscious engagement, you dissolve unconscious scripts and author your own narrative. As you deepen your relationship with archetypes, notice how life's complexities gain coherence. Conflicting desires resolve into integrated purpose. Creative blocks yield to inspiration, and interpersonal tensions soften as projections abate. Archetypal work is an ongoing dialogue and practice of self-inquiry. This conscious archetypal engagement catalyzes the next stage of individuation, forging the unified self at the center of your psyche. In the next chapter, we will dive even further into the most feared archetype, the shadow, and explore practical methods to integrate its power into your personality, locking pathways to authenticity and wholeness. The shadow is the hidden repository of all that we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves, the impulses, emotions, and desires we deem unacceptable, shameful, or dangerous. It is not a separate entity, but an integral part of the psyche, formed as we internalize societal norms, parental expectations, and cultural taboos. From early childhood, we learn to suppress anger, conceal selfish longings, and deny aspects of our character that provoke guilt or fear. These disowned elements retreat into the unconscious, gathering strength and coloring our behavior in ways we do not comprehend. Confronting the shadow is essential because it holds both our greatest vulnerabilities and our untapped potential. When left unexamined, the shadow manifests through projection. We see in others the traits we refuse to endorse in ourselves. Colleagues' arrogance may enrage us, not because they are inherently cruel, but because we suppress our own pride. Romantic partners can trigger intense jealousy, mirroring unacknowledged desires for control. Even collective phenomena, scapegoating, mass hysteria, accusation arise from shared projections onto marginalized groups. Warned that the unacknowledged shadow can become a tyrant of the unconscious, driving individuals and societies toward destructive ends. Yet, paradoxically, the shadow also harbors creative life force, raw energy that, when integrated, fuels authenticity, vitality, and resilience. The process of shadow work, begins with developing the courage to notice one's own dark impulses without judgment. This first step is self-observation, cultivating an observer stance toward inner experience. Throughout the day, make mental notes of situations that provoke disproportionate emotion, anger that flares too quickly, shame that lingers too long, envy that sneaks in unbidden. Journaling these moments is invaluable. Write down the trigger. Describe the event and record the thoughts and sensations that follow. Over time, patterns emerge, recurring themes, habitual reactions, and the archetypal figures behind them. These entries become a map of the territory where your shadow resides. Next, explore projection identification. When a strong negative reaction towards someone surfaces, ask, what in me is it that I see in them? For example, if you find yourself irritated by someone's neediness, you may be dismissing your own feelings of vulnerability. If another's boastfulness infuriates you, consider whether you conceal your own pride. By owning these projected qualities, admitting I to feel needy or I to crave recognition, you weaken the projection's grip and reclaim disavowed parts of your psyche. A powerful technique is active imagination, in which you invite shadow aspects into conscious dialogue. In a quiet space, close your eyes and envision the shadow as a character, a figure in the dark forest of your mind. Speak to it. Ask, what do you want me to know? Listen without censoring. You might receive images, feelings, or words that reveal hidden motivations. Record these encounters in your journal. Over repeated sessions, this practice cultivates a relationship with the shadow, transforming it from an enemy into a guide that reveals blocked potential and unmet needs. Dream amplification also deepens shadow work. Pay special attention to dream figures that evoke fear, disgust, or fascination. A menacing creature, a disembodied voice, or an abandoned child may embody shadow elements. Rather than dismissing these as nightmares, engage with them symbolically. Ask what they represent: aggression, helplessness, suppressed creativity. Research mythic analogs, demons, tricksters, underworld guides, and reflect on how their stories parallel your life. Through amplification, you translate unconscious symbolism into conscious insight, integrating shadow energy constructively. Another method is creative expression. Artistic activities, writing, painting, movement allow shadow impulses to surface safely. If you feel an unexplained surge of rage, channel it into an abstract drawing or a cathartic free-writing session. If hidden grief wells up, reflect it in music or dance. The act of creation externalizes inner tension, providing material for reflection and integration. Reviewing your creations reveals consistent motifs, emotional colors, and archetypal characters that illuminate the contours of your shadow. Integration of the shadow requires self-compassion. Confronting our darkest impulses can provoke guilt or self-loathing. It is vital to approach this material with kindness, recognizing that suppression served as a survival strategy. When shame arises, remind yourself that all humans possess a shadow. Its existence is not a moral failing, but a psychological reality. By extending compassion, you soften internal resistance and foster a healing environment where growth can occur. As shadow aspects become conscious, their energy transforms. Anger, once directed outward in blame, becomes assertiveness used to set healthy boundaries. Fear, once paralyzing, becomes alertness harnessed for self-protection. Repressed sexuality can emerge as creative passion. The shadow's raw vitality, once released from suppression, infuses life with authenticity and vigor. Many artists, writers, and innovators attribute breakthroughs to engaging with their darker impulses, recognizing that the same drive that can destroy can also create. Yet, shadow integration is not a one-time event, but an ongoing journey. Layers surface as life unfolds. Stress, relationships, aging, and loss all reveal fresh wounds. Maintaining daily practices, journaling, active imagination, dream work ensures that you continue welcoming and integrating emergent aspects. Periodic retreats or therapy can provide deeper support during intense phases of transformation. Group work or trusted friendships can mirror projections safely and offer external perspectives on blind spots. On a collective level, shadow work fosters empathy and social healing. When individuals acknowledge their own capacity for cruelty and prejudice, they become less likely to project those qualities onto others. This awareness can diffuse conflicts, reduce polarization, and cultivate compassion. Jung believed that as more people undertake individuation, society as a whole moves toward greater psychological health, reducing the tyranny of collective unconscious forces that fuel hatred and violence. Ultimately, integrating the shadow leads to wholeness, state Jung called the self, in which conscious ego and unconscious contents form a unified totality. This psychic wholeness does not eliminate darkness, but balances it with light, creating an inner landscape where the full spectrum of human potential can flourish. The journey into the shadow is therefore a pilgrimage toward authenticity, a reclamation of lost parts, and an invitation to live with depth and integrity. Individuation is the central process of self-realization and inner integration that Jung considered the ultimate goal of psychological development. Unlike superficial self-improvement aimed at correcting behaviors, individuation journeys deep into the unconscious to reconcile profound tensions within the psyche. It is the synthesis of conscious awareness and unconscious contents, uniting archetypal energies with ego functions to forge a cohesive identity. Through this process, you transform from a passive recipient of circumstance into the active author of your own narrative, steering your life from external pressures toward authentic purpose and creative expression. The path of individuation unfolds in interconnected stages. First is confrontation. You encounter unconscious contents through vivid dreams, spontaneous emotional reactions, or intense projections onto others. When a dream symbol recurs or a projection triggers a disproportionate response, you pause to investigate. Journaling these experiences, recording dream details, mapping emotional flashpoints, and noting whom you unfairly judge becomes vital. Over time, this reflective map reveals archetypal themes and unintegrated aspects of your personality that have guided you without your awareness. Second is assimilation. Here, active imagination bridges the conscious mind and unconscious material. You enter imagined dialogues with dream figures or mythic characters, your inner hero, animus, or shadow, and listen to their messages. Creative expression through art, writing, or dance gives form to what resists simple verbalization. Sketching unsettling dream imagery can unlock symbolic meanings. A tree writing from the perspective of a recurring archetypal figure can surface hidden motivations. Through these engagements, the raw energy of disowned parts becomes available for constructive use, fueling artistic breakthroughs and enriching relationships. Third is integration. In this stage, conscious ego and unconscious contents coalesce into a unified self. You apply insights from dreams and active imagination to everyday life, aligning choices with your most deeply held values. Emotional conflicts diminish because you recognize them as invitations to wholeness rather than threats to your stability. Decision-making becomes informed by both rational analysis and intuitive guidance, yielding balanced actions. You notice a fluid interplay between assertiveness and receptivity, spontaneity and planning. Integration does not imply perfection, but rather a dynamic equilibrium that adapts as new challenges and insights arise. Crises often serve as potent catalysts for individuation. Sudden disruptions, job loss, bereavement, or health scares can shatter familiar identities and force a re-evaluation of long-held assumptions. While initially painful, haze rupture the ego's habitual frameworks and expose unconscious material that cannot be ignored. Jung likened this to alchemical transformation. The nigredo phase of dissolution must precede the albedo of purification and the rubedo of rebirth. Instead of anesthetizing pain with distraction, you can harness crisis energy as fuel for deep psychological work. Supportive practices such as mindful breathing, grounding exercises, or ritual ceremonies provide stability when inner waters become turbulent. Practical strategies to foster individuation include maintaining a daily dream journal to record symbolic imagery and emotional tones, scheduling regular creative sessions for free writing, painting, or movement, and practicing active imagination dialogues with inner figures. Incorporating mindfulness and meditation strengthens your capacity to observe thoughts and feelings without immediate reaction. Engaging in body-centered activities such as yoga, tai chi, or dance integrates somatic awareness with psychological exploration. Therapy or group workshops can offer mirror feedback, helping you spot blind spots and projections you might otherwise overlook. By weaving these practices into your routine, you build a reliable toolkit for ongoing inner engagement. Meaning-making is a key element of individuation. As you uncover archetypal narratives in your dreams and everyday experiences, you begin to craft a personal myth, a symbolic storyline that frames your journey and imparts coherence. Consider which symbols recur in your life: a towering oak, a labyrinthine corridor, a flowing river and explore their resonances. Writing a personal narrative or creating a visual collage of these motifs externalizes your myth, providing a guiding storyline when external circumstances feel chaotic. This mythic framework helps you interpret meaningful coincidences as signposts rather than random chance. Indicators of individuation emerge. When you notice synchronistic events, meaningful coincidences that seem to guide you toward opportunities, relationships, or insights aligned with your path, you may enter creative flow states in which ideas and solutions arise effortlessly, signaling that unconscious creativity is aligning with your conscious will. You develop the capacity to hold. Paradox, simultaneously embracing vulnerability and strength, certainty and doubt. Over time, you perceive yourself as both actor and observer in the drama of your life, stepping back occasionally to witness patterns and themes unfolding. Challenges persist even after significant breakthroughs. Periods of stagnation, disillusionment, or existential questioning can feel like plateaus or regressions. In such moments, reaffirm your daily practices: dream journaling, creative exploration, mindfulness to reignite engagement with the unconscious. Seek fresh metaphors by reading myths, poetry, or visionary art that resonate with your current phase. Community rituals, workshops, or supportive circles offer collective energy that revitalizes personal work and reminds you that you are part of an ongoing human quest for meaning. Brace these ebbs and flows as integral to the ongoing journey. 2. Sustain integration. Periodically review your journey. Celebrate symbolic milestones such as repeated symbols resolving or projections diminishing as evidence of growth. Embrace community and mentorship to enrich perspective. Recognize that each life stage unveils fresh layers of the unconscious. Approach new chapters with curiosity, knowing that individuation equips you to meet uncertainty with grounded presence. By weaving inner exploration into daily living, you build resilience that carries you through whatever unexpected broader challenges arise. Ultimately, individuation guides you to encounter the self, the archetype of wholeness that unites conscious and unconscious dimensions. This self is neither an unattainable ideal nor a fixed endpoint, but a dynamic center that anchors your development and adapts to new experiences. As you claim authorship of your narrative and align your actions with your deepest purpose, you participate fully in the unfolding mystery of existence. Individuation is a lifelong commitment to self-inquiry, creative expression, and compassionate presence, an invitation to live with authenticity, depth, and freedom.